Hi Chloe, I've just put this together to talk you through these assessment tasks. This is for cluster 7 because it's probably the most complex one. So I've worked it over in compared to what it was to try and make it as simple as possible. So what I'll do is put a video together explaining expectations of each one. But I thought if I get this to you first, then you can talk me through, okay, well that doesn't make sense, or this can be done better, or whether it does make sense and you like it. So yeah, open to feedback because obviously you're the expert. So if I talk about data or even research or like last week when you were a huge help, if you could just make any recommendations you think necessary, just let me know. So we've already put a YouTube together on assessment task 2, project 1, which you've already watched, and it's looking at market trends. So just quickly to explain this, the market trend we're looking at there is a relates to the product. So it's going to be the trend in relation. So for a blow dry place, what are going to be the trends of the products that are going to be coming out in the future, and how's this going to affect your organisation? So it's more about the products they offer. Um, Whereas assessment task 2 is different because you're required to research 2 emerging needs, trends related to social media marketing techniques. For each emerging need, trend related to social media marketing techniques, you must describe the emerging market need trend and outline the data supporting it. So this is a bit different in that it's not so much about their products, say their blow drying or their photography or whatever. This is about social media marketing emerging trends. So in here they've got to talk about the emerging market need or trend. So again, I looked up that Hootsuite and a couple of different things, and they had these are the 10 trends going into next year or whatever. So they've got to say this is an emerging trend or need, and outline the data you have gathered. So here they've got to actually talk about this is why. So they've got to put data behind it. So again, they can obviously collect their own data, but for this one, I recommend that they use those other sources of information already collected because they look at other evidence gathering techniques later. So it's best to use probably other people's data for this one, like Hootsuite or whatever it's called. And so they talk about, okay, well, there's this survey done by Hootsuite, blah, 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 blah. But it says they need 2 sources, so they need to then go to another one. And this organization also found in their data that blah, 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 blah. So that's for the 2 emerging marketing needs. So we'll make clear in the video this is more about the products they offer. So if it's fitness, they might be saying there's going to be a increased demand for kids exercise in my region or whatever. So whereas this one's about the social media marketing. And then I've just got a question there. How did you decide that the sources of information are reputable? So let me know what your thoughts are on that. Part 3, you're required to use statistical and qualitative analysis to identify competitors' performance, own performance, threats, and opportunity. So they've got to look at page likes, changes from previous week, posts. So basically what I've done is I've put in there, based on your advice, they need to populate this table. And again, what I'm going to do is before I release this, I'll actually say how they actually get in to check it. They've got to look at 4 competitors. There's on Facebook the total page likes from last week, posts this week, and engagement. So that comes straight from that report that we discussed the other day. So they've got to be able to find that report, analyze it, put 4 competitors in there, and get their information. And then I've got an average number there as well, just because part of the training package looks at that. Now you've got to get the same information for your organisation, and they got to do analysis. Summarise your results compared to the highest performing competitor. Summarise your results compared to the average of your competitors. Review the offerings of one of your competitors. What information did you gather that influenced the above data performance? So this is where they look at one of their competitors. And again, let me know if this one's not going to work, or you probably give me some ideas before I make the video on how to do it. But they've got to look at one of the successful competitors and what's making them successful. So I'm not sure how you do that analysis. So if you can talk through that with me. Okay, so I've said that Sage are really awesome. They're getting lots of engagement. They've got lots of information. What about what they're doing is making it? Remember, you spoke to me. You said that they might be doing paid things, etc., etc. From your analysis, describe 2 potential opportunities. And from your analysis, describe 2 potential threats. So the opportunities might be, okay, I've learnt this, or I'm doing this really well, and I'm seeing that it's an opportunity to just really expand our marketing. From your analysis, 2 threats. This company's really doing well. They're a small competitor, and they're going to start to really compete with the service offerings and how big they are on social media. So that's that task done, assessment task 2. Now in assessment task 3, so there's a summary here. You got to look at 4 of your company's marketing activities. So basically you need to do a marketing activity analysis. Marketing activity, KPI target, KPI result, what analysis did you do, and marketing activity successful. That's a question. Now the way I've explained it, and I'll explain in the video, they've already got this, so they just need to go back to earlier tasks and populate this table. Okay, the marketing activity, I did Facebook, or I did a blog, or this is what I set as a target, this was my result, this is the analysis done, was it successful? So it's really about grabbing the information from those earlier tasks they did for clusters 2, 3, and 4. So that should be fairly straightforward. Based on the information, they need to then identify 2 overperforming stocks. How did they establish that they were overperforming? Which again, that's going back to say, okay, from my previous results in the clusters 2, 3, and 4, these were the overperforming stocks. What was analysed? Reasons why it's overperforming. So they've got to talk about what they've done well for it to be overperforming. Then underperforming stocks, underperforming products. So again, they look at 2 that were underperforming, how they analyse it, reasons why it's underperforming, and whether they say they're going to drop it as a technique or they're going to just redevelop it and then do it a bit differently, which I think they're things they spoke about in their audio interviews. So once they've done all that, then they need to put together a PowerPoint presentation, which is what this talks about. The PowerPoint presentation needs to look at marketing trends, emerging trends, competitive analysis, current marketing techniques and performance, and recommendations based on A to D above. So basically all this information is the information they collected in assessments task 2 and 3, which I've been speaking about for the last 3 minutes. But instead of actually just presenting it as assignments, now they've got to put it into a PowerPoint presentation as if they're presenting it to the company. So I've said here they need to use pictures, diagrams, line graphs, pie charts, whatever techniques say you and Janet would use to make it look good, so it's easy for the client to understand, as if they're presenting it to a business partner or board or shareholders or whatever. So again, that's got to be in PowerPoint presentation. So they put it together. After they've put it together, they've got to review their presentation and look at, is the style of the slides consistent? Is the presentation text heavy, or has it got good visual aids, and so on? So you can read through that. 2 potential problems with the presentation and rectify the problems that you've identified. So basically they've got to look at their own presentation and then fill this table in with a presentation review. Problems they've established, why is this a problem, and rectification done. So again, they do a first draft and then they have a good look at it based upon those things, then they fill this table in. So again, pretty straightforward. Then they need to arrange a meeting with their supervisor and they need to present the PowerPoint presentation to them. And then, so my question is, then the supervisor, which is you, has to fill in a feedback form. Okay, as to how the presentation went. So it's not just about, it's their use of voice, it's their, and again, we can do this one by Skype or phone or whatever, so I'll make sure that aligns with being able to do that. So you get that filled in, and then they need to put together a report. So here's a report here. This is a report related to their presentation that they've put together. Now it's emerging market trends. Again, I have to go over this. Products, overperforming, underperforming products, and recommendations. So the difference, and this might seem repetitive, but the idea is they've presented it to you, you've given them feedback, and you're pretending to be a board member or a shareholder or a partner. So they've presented it to you, you've given them feedback, and then based upon what they've put together and the feedback that you've given them and your thoughts, then they put together a final client report with some information in here. So that's it for basically this cluster. So even though it looks a bit, I think lots of the information they're going to be drawing on from elsewhere. There's going to be a bit of analysis of trends and whatever. There's going to be a bit of work that goes into putting a PowerPoint presentation together that looks good. But even though there's probably 7 or 8 tasks, a lot of them are going to be fairly straightforward. So yeah, interested in getting your feedback, Chloe. If you can, put half an hour aside to just have a read over this and watch this video, that would be great.